Hey everybody, we are back in the shop again today working on the Nemesis R1. I'm going to work on a project today. I've been kind of putting it off because I'm not a tube notcher. I've never notched tube before. I don't have a tube notching machine, but I'm going to have to try and do it. So the project that we're working on is really starting to bring down the roll hoop at the top. So the roll hoop doesn't need to be as tall as it is, and the fact that it is that tall throws off our body lines. So we're actually bringing it down about 4 inches, basically to the top of where the two mainstays come into the back of the roll hoop. So that's what the goal is today. So we'll take a look at what that looks like. So we've got our roll hoop here going all the way up to the top, and as you can see, we've got our mainstays coming in right about here on the back of it. Now we should be able to take it right off, basically right across from mainstay to the other one on the back. So we've got, essentially a piece of tube going across right about thereabouts. So I need to cut a piece of this and notch the two ends so that it slides in, and we've got a good solid contact for the weld to go around, because we still want it to be nice and strong. Once I have that welded in, then I'll cut the tops of these off, take that hoop off, and then just weld in the top of the tubes with a couple of end patches. So I'm gonna have to measure kind of what's straight across here, measure the angle, and then start playing around with how I need to cut the tube ends to match that. So there needs to be a bit of an overlap, and then notching. There's gonna be a whole lot of fun going on here. So that's what I'm first gonna do, is I'm gonna measure this angle that's coming across, make some initial cuts, and try notching and seeing what happens on the first go round. Okay, so I've got the tube cut off on the general angles that I kind of held up against the bar, took the center line of the bar of the tube, kind of made a marker scribe on the two ends here, and that's kind of my general angle. Now, I kind of did a straight line all the way down the top, so I kind of understand the top of it, and then basically need to cut notches or circular notches out of the tops and eventually the bottom as well. I just got them marked on the top for right now. But then also on the back, because my mainstays come in and connect in, I'm going to need to notch on the back here as well. So you can see that I've got markings there. Probably going to just end up cutting almost like a pie wedge out with the cutting wheel, and then use the grinder to try to smooth it out in a little bit more circular. So we'll get started on cutting out those notches now. Notches are cut. So we've got the notches all cut on each of the different areas. So now it's about getting the angle grinder, and grinding out those to be a little bit more smooth circular areas, and then we'll see if it even comes close to fitting. Of course, my first time notching tube together, I couldn't have chose a 90-degree angle of two tubes meeting each other. No, instead I need a complex angle with 3 tubes all meeting each other into one spot, which has turned out, but it was interesting. So if we take a look at the pipe that I've got here, we'll see how it's all shaped on the end, and then we'll see how it actually fits on the car. So, as you can see, we've got a bunch of curves. Same thing on the other end, notches to be able to deal with all the different bars coming together. The initial cuts worked out well, and the grinded curvatures worked out well. And then it was a matter of just holding it in place, taking away material where it's needed, taking material away where it's needed. And then I've also grinded down essentially a little wedge or trough in here so that I've got a good place for all of the weld to puddle and fill in the gap. So we've got a good contact point between the two different pieces of steel, and that we're not just doing some kind of surface weld. I want this to be nice and strong as it is sitting above my head in case I roll. So want to make sure that everything works out well. So let's go take a look at how it fits on the car. All right, got it tied to the top, a nice little bow here. As you can see, we've got our notches on each of the different sides. Everything notched in around the bottom to be able to fit. Overall, pretty good fit. And we take a look at the back here too. We can see that everything provides a tiny little bit of gap around each of the different bars, but not a whole lot. Something that's pretty close to the surface that I can fill with weld to get good contact between the two different bars. So the little bow is just to hold it so it doesn't keep falling on me. I'll press it into place when I've got a hold of it with the glove when I'm welding, and then we'll weld everything in place. All right, we have the bar welded in there now. As you can see, it takes quite a bit off the top. There's still room above the seat for being able to take an air inlet to come in onto the intercooler and back to feed cold air intake coming in. But yeah, you can see how it's going to drop the profile of the top of the car quite a bit. Now there will still be just these little stubs kind of just right here, right above, so it won't be a flush right across. So a couple of stubs here that we'll have for being able to do a flat surface for mounting some things. But overall, you know, welding went well. Got some nice speeds, good contact all the way around. Everything on the bar should be super strong back and forth. So now we should be able to cut off this top hoop area, and we still have space above my head to where the roll bar goes. So that should still give me protection. Helmet just comes to the top of the seat here. Still have all the protection of a roll hoop and the actual lower profile of the car to be able to go down across the back. So next up is cutting off the top hoop and then welding on a couple of plates. And there we have it. Everything's all sealed up across the top, welded in those two tubes. Might be able to use those as a mounting point for something. But everything is all welded in, ready to go. Gives the car a nice low profile on the top, plus protection for my melon. So everything is all good the way that I wanted to set it up. So excited, happy to be able to get that done on the car, yet another project done. Lots of little things to do on the car. So it's one of these things that I've been wanting to try to get out of the way. The whole tube notching thing was making me wonder how I was going to do it, you know, how long it was going to take me, but it actually didn't take me too long. So I'm happy that everything went the way that it went, and we'll start up another project in another video.